Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How are my peeps doing this afternoon? I trust you're all doing just fine, folks. We have a great show for you today as I try to go ahead and load things up. I was late as usual because I need help. But I can't afford help yet. We need to get more of our newsletters paid for because I need help. Anyway, folks, we're doing great. We're going to have a great show for you today. I'm trying to load the videos that we're going to do today as we speak. I am trying to load the videos as we speak. But welcome aboard, Lee Grant from Montgomery County, Paul Fleming from Powder Springs at Georgia. We have, of course, the one and only La Preciosa, the beautiful Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. We also have in the house Michael Rudnin from where again? Where is Michael Rudnin from? Brooklyn, New York. We have our people. We've got our people in the house as I try to get all these darn things loaded. And I think I've got them loaded. Anyway, folks, let me see. Call me crazy. Paul Fleming says, insurance companies shouldn't have stockholders. Thank you. There shouldn't be enough profit to make it worth it. Pooled resources for pooled risk with a little extra in there for administration costs, period. You know what that is called, Mike? That is called single payer. It's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, they are profiting off of your demise. That's what they're doing. All right. Let's go ahead and get busy. Hey, welcome aboard, El Senor Mike Cisak. Welcome aboard, Gayla Kunis from Evans, Georgia. Hey, Georgia is so very well represented in the house. Okay, let's start with Michael Rolling Stones. Michael says, words deny, defend, depose. Found on shell casings from United Health CEO shooting. The unidentified gunman is still at large. Some have pointed out the collection of words resemblance to the book Delay, Deny, Defend, written by J.M. Feynman. The cover reads, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. The book was originally published in 2010. And as you guys know, I also had the whistleblower, what's his name, on our show as well, Potter. Wendell Potter was on my show, who was one of those who explode that stuff about that. Gizmodo says, bid from Michael again, Michael Rudden, bitter Americans react to United Healthcare CEO's murder. My empathy is out of network. United Healthcare social media was flooded with scathing comments after the apparent assassination of its executive. You know, when you get people into that position where they have nothing to lose, you know, where these people continuously take advantage of them, like the insurance companies rip us off all the times, right? I am not justifying anything. I'm just saying for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And if this turns out to be a person that the insurance company screwed, it wouldn't be surprising because the insurance companies screw people day in and day out. And where was he? At a conference of investors to talk about how much money they made from not paying out claims. It's amazing, right? I'm not going to finish reading that. Too much to read. But let's see. Egberto, one for the screen. Let's see what you got here, brother. Let's see what you got here. I'm going to put it on the screen. And let's see what it says here. One of my screens blinking, so I'm going to put it on the other one. Let's see. It says, we are deeply saddened and shocked from United Health Group. We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. Brian was a highly respected colleague and friend to all who worked with him. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him. I hear you. But those responses, let's see what it says. Brian Thompson was killed in a targeted shooting Wednesday morning. But those responses of support were soon down by a very different tone as people shared horror stories of being denied covered by health insurance company and made morbid jokes comparing the CEO's death to the ways they've been mistreated by U.S. healthcare system. And the truth is, If you want to be very honest about it, and let's be very honest about it, the healthcare system, that is, look, we are not justifying any kind of murder. But just like we shouldn't justify the assassination of that person, that the CEO, that CEO's policies in insurance, the insurance market in its own right, have assassinated many American citizens. Not one, not 1,000, not 10,000s, but hundreds of thousands, if not more, have been diligently assassinated, inferred assassination. So let's be clear here. What you're seeing from the response from people are not that they want violence. What they're saying is it's amazing the violence against this one person doesn't realize the violence against the average American citizen day in and day out, when their cancer treatment is not paid for, when their treatment for a brain injury is not paid for. That is where it comes from. It doesn't come from a macabre thing. I hope folks understand where people are actually coming from. It's not a macabre thing. It's a visceral reaction to what the insurance company has done to us all. It's a visceral reaction. Another one from Michael Rudnin. Let's go ahead and put that one up there. It says, billionaires won't create jobs if we tax them. It's a myth made up by billionaires, so we don't tax them. And that is so true. We can show mathematically why taxing billionaires, in fact, ensuring that there are no billionaires, we can show why that is a perfect market thing, because no billionaire has earned that billion. Thank you for that, Michael Rudin. No billionaire has earned that money. That is stolen money from you. Remember that. That is stolen money. Every billionaire's worth. I don't matter if it's a benevolent billionaire or a malevolent billionaire. All that billion came directly from what was not paid to us all. That's why you get the income disparity, because of the macabre way in which we distribute income in this country. Let's remember that. ABC News, 2/3 of personal bankruptcy are linked to medical debt, health and human service. Xavier Becerra said medical debt often forces families into making impossible choices. True. I'm loving what you're putting out here, Michael. I'm loving it. Of course, we've blogged all of this before. KFF Foundation, despite over 90% of the United States population having some form of health insurance, medical debt remains a persistent problem for people and families with limited assets. That's because every time you get an insurance policy, and it's not only medical insurance, everybody, I want you to look at your homeowner's insurance and see what has happened to it this year and see what they've done with deductibles. They've made the deductible so high that just about anything that happens to your house, you pay for it. And if it's washed out, the government pays for it. And if it's a fire or something, they pay for it, but they make sure that you pay a big chunk before they pay. It's a scam. All of it is a scam. You can read all of that Michael has put in the chat. It's very important. But again, like I said, I've blogged this before, and I have two severe blogs, two tough blogs that I did today on Medicare Advantage. All right, Paul Fleming says DC has filed a complaint against Amazon, alleging the company discriminated against low-income, predominantly black zip codes when it secretly stopped providing residents with the benefit of its Prime services. According to the suit, Amazon imposed a delivery exclusion on zip codes in 2022, relying solely on third-party delivery service to fulfill its orders rather than its own delivery system. The exclusion resulted in slower deliveries for the predominantly black neighborhoods. Wow, I didn't read that one. That's new to me, Paul. Thank you for that. Call me crazy. I read that one already. Egberto, according to your own rules when it comes to business, if you can't afford to hire people at a living wage, you shouldn't be in the business. I agree. Of course, I agree with that. And, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But you know what? I can afford to be in this business of news because I can do the work all on my lonesome. And when I get enough subscribers, I will be able to hire others to help with the work. But I am not a parasite like, let's say, Elon Musk, who goes ahead and suck on the government's tits to get his rockets flying. I am not like Elon Musk, who sucks on the other auto companies' tits so that he can have an electric car company. I am not like Elon Musk, who's sucking up to Donald Trump so that he can actually get credits for his cars to stay in business because he is a utter failure masquerading as a success, just like Donald Trump is a failure masquerading as success. Let's put some numbers to this. Everybody gave Mr. Musk kudos for getting a spaceship to the space station. Oh, he did a great thing. They gave him a big kudos. They gave Bezos big kudos for doing a suborbital flight. All of these things we did back in the 60s. We did them back in the 70s. We did them back in the 80s with computers that were less powerful than my cell phone. And they market Musk as a big success for doing things that we've been doing for decades right now. And then we get conned into paying him to do it for us instead of having the government with our own people doing it. You know who got conned? You guys got conned, Mike Cisak, because I'm here telling the truth. But you guys just don't know these things, right? Because you're easily conned, right? Easily conned, like a fish, right? All right, let's see what else we got. Lee Grant says, look like the Supreme Court will help keep safe from bizarre ideology. Actually, the Supreme Court is doing nothing to keep kids safe. If you want to know where your kids are unsafe, just go to church. The pastors in these churches are raping more kids than any trans. In fact, I've showed that already. Trans have nothing to do with sexual abuse of kids. Trans have nothing to do with the sexual violation of kids. If you want to find out who's do that, look at straight men, supposedly straight men, who are doing that. And you know who have the largest percentage of them doing that? Your pastor, your religious person. Those are the people that are attacking kids. So if you want to find out who you need to hide from the bathroom, it has less to do with trans and more. So you're barking up the wrong tree, my dear brother Lee Grant. Look at the numbers. Look at the facts. Stop looking at what's in your mind. Egberto, yep. That was the image that was removed. Repeating, the United Healthcare Group post got over 20,000 laughing reactions before it was taken down. The American people are pissed off at our lack of healthcare system, and it shows. If so many people weren't desperate to the point of desperation when they got news about their insurance coverage being delayed or denied, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have. Jay Ray says, good afternoon. I heard that story. Crazy. I hear you, buddy. Paul Fleming says, ABC News. Anthem Blue Cross Shield is trying to put time limits on how long anesthesia can be used during surgeries and medical procedures in Connecticut, New York, and Missouri. New York and Connecticut have already stepped in to stop the plan from going into effect. They're criminals. They're assassins. That's what these insurance companies are. All right. Paul Fleming says, perhaps this is a good time to ponder how much actual health care could be provided if we didn't have companies like United making $35 billion a year in operating income. We already did those numbers, my dear Paul. We would save over $800 billion if we just got rid of the insurance companies and paid it out of funds. In fact, if we got rid of Medicare Advantage, we could get rid of the 20% Medigap that people pay. It's amazing. The numbers are there to prove it. But again, our government is bought because we don't have the progressives out there. All right. Michael Rudden says, before that, Paul Flixon says, a Nixon-era law forbids presidents from blocking spending over policy disagreements. Federal courts have also prevented presidents from refusing to spend money unless Congress grants them flexibility. Trump seeks to append it. Yep, it's called, in fact, I think They used to call it the single line veto or something like that. It's illegal. The single line veto is in fact illegal. And we need to remember that the single line veto, one line veto is illegal. So they need not try it. All right, continuing. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. How are you doing, our beautiful Melanie Keelan? Paul Fleming says the top 1% evades $160 billion in taxes every year. That's enough to fund universal child care or eliminate hunger. Greed isn't just selfish, it's destructive. In fact, it is horrendous. Trans surgery is the sexual abuse of children. We're not talking about trans surgery. That's what they would want you to believe. Trans surgery can occur after they're 18 years old. They can decide that on their own. They're talking about medication that prevents these kids from committing suicide, etc. Egberto, you're not telling the truth, Egberto. It costs billions to run NASA rockets, yet Elon was able to rescue the cost. That's a lie. I worked for NASA. I know the numbers. You don't. That's a lie. These guys cost more. The private sector costs more, and it's a mathematical certainty. I mean, I don't know how can you possibly think that? The private sector can never be less expensive, ever. In fact, even when NASA takes control of the project, the private sector builds most of the items. Oh my God. Sometimes I wonder. All right. Let's see. Michael Rane said in the 1960s, when our nation had dreams of tomorrow, NASA's funding took 4% of the federal budget. Now we're down to less than a tenth of that, less than 0.4 of the federal budget. Our priorities broken. NASA got our people wanting to go into STEM fields and push long-term technological innovation. True. All right. The Congressional Budget Act impounding control of 1970. It's likely that Trump will challenge this law. Trump can challenge whatever he wants to challenge, right? He can challenge whatever he wants to challenge. He's going to do it anyway. Anyway, let's go to our first video. Say no to Medicare Advantage, people. Say no to Medicare Advantage. So let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll be back on the other side. That wasn't my subject for today, but it is of such importance, brother. I want to say a few words about it. So thank you for bringing that up, especially since December 7th is the last day for people. It occurs, the window is between October 15th and December 7th. And what most of our seniors are going to find out now is that their telephones, their telephones are going to be ringing off the hook, trying to sucker them into these Medicare Advantage plans. And if they don't answer the phone, they're going to keep calling and harassing. In fact, there are a few telemarketing companies that have been called out, and some are facing charges because of what they're doing to our elderly, to our seniors, to people that are of Medicare Advantage age. They constantly call them. They fool them into believing they must change their plan from traditional Medicare to Medicare Advantage, whether they can afford it or not. Whether they can afford Medicare, traditional Medicare or not. So, folks, this is the time. December 7th is the closing date for signing up. So you're going to be bombarded both on TV, on radio, on emails, on paper. You'll be getting a whole lot of stuff in the mail. There may be some of these people walking around in your neighborhoods trying to sign you up. And you know why they're trying to do that? It's very lucrative. If they sign for every old person, every senior, every 65-year-old and above, they sign out. For that one signature, that's thousands of dollars into the pockets of that person who sold you that policy. Let me just tell you a bit about how this stuff works. The government made a promise because private insurance companies didn't think they could make money from insuring older people because older people get sicker. They did it. They would insure regular folks, younger people, because they don't use as much healthcare. But you see what's happening. They're still suckering the younger people right now. But older people, they wouldn't insure at all. So what happened? The government, we the people, said, since the private sector won't insure us, what we will do is we will go ahead and provide insurance for all Americans over 65, and we will pay 80% of the bill. And later on, we made some issues to prepare a drug program, etc. But 20% of it, well, you're going to have to get a supplemental private insurance or pay it out of pocket. Of course, if you have a $200,000 bill, you don't want to pay $10,000 or $40,000 out of your pocket. So you'll buy a supplemental insurance, or if you're poor enough, Medicaid will take care of that portion of the bill. And for that benefit, the government was paying all those bills for you. Well, the private sector, now that it has a sugar daddy, said, hey, the government is willing to pay now. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tell the government, why don't you let me administer that for you? And we could probably even keep your costs down. That's what the private sector told the government after they said, we will not insure older people because they cost too damn much. So the private sector comes in, the charlatans, the capitalists comes in, and they said, how could we succor the government? They bribed the government into letting them take over Medicare for those people who want them to, and they present a few little trinkets that traditional Medicare doesn't give you offhand, like hearing, vision, and something else that I'm missing. What else is here? Hearing, vision, and dental. They say, oh, we'll include that in our plan. By the way, what they include in the plan is generally not very good, but they include that in the plan. And what they tell the government is for every person that switches from traditional Medicare to standard Medicare, at current rates, they give them close to $10,000, between $8,000 and $10,000 per person per year to go ahead and administer that for them. So once you sign up with them, they're happy because you are giving them, let's say, on average, $8,000 or more to that insurance company. But they got to sell it to you. So they give it to insurance agents to go sell it to you. And they make it lucrative for the insurance agents to really go ahead and catch all you guys, to tell you guys that great traditional Medicare that allows you to go to any doctor, anything that you want, right? Because you want what's best for your health. They have to convince you to go to the private sector, that private insurance plan that tells you which doctor you can see, what medicines you can take. And wait a minute, if you need to get pre-authorized, if you need to get some procedure, maybe a CAT scan, maybe an ultrasound, you first have to beg the insurance company to say, please, please, please. The doctor has to say, please, the patient that I'm seeing needs this procedure. Will you approve it? And too often, I think like 20% of the times or so, the insurance company says, hell no, let them die. I'm not kidding you. I'm using those words. But that's exactly what happens with the private sector. Because while the government's Medicare is for your health, they care about you. We, the people, care about you. The private sectors, their fiduciary responsibility, they owe their existence. Their only reason for them to want to serve you is to make a profit for shareholders who own that private health insurance company and the executives who get big bonuses for signing you up and denying you care. And because the way they make a profit is denying you care. They can only make a profit if they spend less money on your health care so that the remainder goes into their pockets. That is not hyperbole. That is how economics work. And that's why you would hear Politics Done Right continuously say healthcare does not belong in the private markets because it's about your health. Do you want to sell a pizza? That belongs in the private sector. Do you want to sell a car? That belongs in the private sector. But things that are of life and death, things that you actually depend on permanently, it does not belong in the private sector. And the reason the private sector wants those products in there as well is because guess what? Unlike you have a choice when you want to buy a car. Do I want to buy this car, that car? Do I want to buy an expensive car, a cheap car? When you have a ailment, when you are sick, you don't have a choice. You have to go get care. You have a choice whether you want to drive a car or take the bus or take the train. So therefore, that belongs in the private sector where people can make deals with you to offer you more or less. When it comes to your health care, you don't want the private sector involved. They're not more efficient. Their sole purpose in any private business, the sole purpose is to make a profit and maximize the shareholder value, maximize the amount of money the people who invest in that company gets. It's not rocket science. And anything they tell you otherwise is to convince you to put your health at risk to make somebody a buck. I don't know how much simpler to tell you, we have to stop being hoodwinked. We have to stop being hoodwinked. Medicare Advantage is private healthcare. It's not government healthcare like Medicare traditional. Medicare Advantage is a scam. Medicare Advantage is a fraud. And if you have Medicare Advantage because your government, our government has allowed a fraudulent structure within Medicare to exist, I am sorry, you may be stuck with it, but realize that Medicare Advantage is a fraud. It's a scam. It's a way to make money for capitalists. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not the benevolence of a company wanting to do good for you. No company just wants to do good for you. Companies are there to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making money. But there are certain places we shouldn't be making money based on the services we give you. And healthcare is one of them. And that's why we support healthcare for all. So if you're already stuck with Medicare, what should you do? If you're healthy, in my opinion, don't just take my opinion, you have to get advice. But in my opinion, if you're healthy and you can get a Medigap policy on an inexpensive way, you get rid of Medicare Advantage, get back to traditional Medicare that gives you the true health care, and get a policy that you can afford for the 20%. And to tell you bluntly, if you can't afford it, there are a lot of doctors that let that 20% go. They'll throw that away because they understand they overbill anyway. But if you're stuck, continue to work with those of us that are teaching people about the fraud that is Medicare Advantage and working to elect people that have your best interest. We educate people so that they understand that what needs to be done is for us to have true universal health care, Medicare for all. And I'm not only talking about for people 65 and over. I'm talking for all Americans, just like we have in Great Britain, Canada, France, Taiwan, China, Japan, Israel. Israel is taking all our monies for defense. You know where they invest a lot of their money? In their healthcare system, in their universal healthcare system. And we, the people of America, we go broke when we get sick. We spend a lot of money when we get sick. Look, it's time, folks. It's time for us to stop being hoodwinked. They use all kind of techniques to fool us. They use all kind of techniques to lie to us. They use all the isms to have us fighting among each other so we can't come together for policy that supports us all. That is what we need to work on.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing.
There is no doubt that is something we need to work on, folks. Look, we have to stop being hoodwinked into these things, okay? We have to stop being hoodwinked into these. Let me just show you how brother Mike Cesek read things. Listen to what he says, right? NASA space shuttle cost $65,000 per kilogram to launch a satellite into orbit before it retired in 2011. SpaceX Falcon 9 cost $2,500 per kilogram. That is somebody who does not understand space travel and has a very small understanding. They can just pick up something like that and believe what they're reading as fact, as opposed to looking at it in detail. Let's talk about the difference between getting a kilogram into orbit with Falcon versus the shuttle. The shuttle system is a complete system based on, first of all, having a human environment in the aggregate, and above that, it was designed with 2 rockets and so forth. It served its purpose to be a human base with the ability to carry humans, etc. The Falcon is a capsule, right? You can have a living quarters on top of the capsule if you wish, but you go ahead and you put it on. What they don't tell you is the thing is reusable. But it's not only that item that we're talking about. By the way, folks, I worked on the space station project, okay? All the capitalization of the shuttle was done with your money. The capitalization of the Falcon by Elon Musk was done with your money. Figure out how those costs are computed, and you'll figure out that it is not, and Michael Rundin gets it right. One of them you're launching at Habitat, but it's more than just launching a Habitat. It's a capitalization of what it costs, because in that 65,000, it includes all the structures that NASA uses with the shuttle. So they add all those things inside. And that was propaganda to really try to get the private sector to come in and say, hey, look at the difference in launching stuff with these different platforms. It's propaganda. It is complete propaganda. But you have to be involved in that domain to understand it. But Michael Cisak doesn't have a clue. First of all, he's not scientifically adept to know exactly what he's reading in that particular report. But what can I say? That is endemic in the MAGA movement. But look, folks, I want to go on to something else now, and this has to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is yet another capitalist scam. And, they like to compare Bitcoin with money, right? Because the very instance of a dollar, a piece of paper, it really has no value, right? That little piece of paper has no value. The only value that piece of paper that you call a dollar has is the faith that the American government says, if you have this dollar, I can exchange that dollar for some sort of a product at some relative price to that dollar. So therefore, we agree that milk is going to cost, let's say, $3 a half a gallon or something like that, right? Bitcoin comes about with an algorithm. All right. So you have hundreds of thousands of computers around the world mining Bitcoins using what? A formula. So there's some formula that goes out there and do mathematical calculations until they find a unique number that becomes a Bitcoin. And because those numbers get scarcer and scarcer every time more are found, they simply say, well, if you own a Bitcoin, in other words, you have a computer that you spend some time running the Bitcoin formula, and eventually, whoops, I found the Bitcoin. It's just a mathematical calculation. I found a Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin is added to the entire network of computers using an algorithm called what is it called? I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a particular kind of algorithm that it uses to store that in a ledger. Blockchain. Thank you, AVQ. Blockchain. And it stores that in a ledger. There is no physical instantiation of that Bitcoin. There's no governmental control. Blockchain. Thank you again to Lee Grant. There's no governmental control of that thing. So later on, if those computers fall out, there is no physical ledger that says you have this money. So there is absolutely nothing there to make you whole if there's a breakdown that occurs, because this has nothing to do with government. Bitcoin has nothing to do with government. It's a computer formula that you use to mine these bits, these coins. And it's called bit because it's computerized. Coin, again, money. So now there are all these charlatanes, these crooks out there that they built a complete system of Bitcoins, and many have become millionaires and billionaires. In fact, you can recall that guy that went to jail because when Bitcoins were down, and again, Bitcoin, they just make Bitcoins into another stock again, right? The value of a Bitcoin can go up based on whatever the market think it's worth. Again, there's nothing there. It's what do I like? A Bitcoin today is worth $100,000, right? $100,000 for a Bitcoin today. There's a time it was worth $1,000. There's a time it was worth 50 cents, right? So there's this fantasy money out there that even Donald Trump used to call fantasy money. And Patrick Magner just brings up a more important thing. The energy used to unlock it increases exponentially at the cost of electrical consumers. He's right. There are all these people with a lot of computers in their homes that's running 24/7, running these algorithms 24/7, trying to mine this Bitcoin. And what is that mining? They're just looking for a number. And once they find it, they throw that into the ledger. But if that ledger, and by the way, it's a computer program. A ledger can get corrupted, right? And by the way, there's one thing we also don't know. We don't know if sometime in the future there is going to be a glitch in that algorithm where something goes wrong and the ledger just crashes. And I'm not talking about the ledger on one computer or on 10,000 computers. I'm saying the ledger on 100,000 computers goes berserk. And then they cannot among each other validate that this Bitcoin is real with other computers. So it's not backed by a government, and it's not backed by anything tangible, right? Look, Bitcoins, in my opinion, is as stupid as gold as a reserve currency. Because, we still are hooked on to gold. Some people, if the right wingers, like to hold on to gold because they think if war comes or if the system degenerates, the only means of exchange you'll have is something like gold. And let me tell you the stupidity in that, right? You can't eat gold. You can't do anything with gold. So if you are in a system that has collapsed, what are you going to use gold to do? Nothing. Nothing. So the reality is the only thing that matters is something that you can have confidence in. And that starts with government, right? If you believe governments are going to exist forever, and that government is a government of trust that has a currency, that currency will have value. That's why the dollar for so long has been sustainable. But now that we have Trump playing around with Bitcoins and playing around with a whole bunch of crazy people, faith in the dollar will eventually erode. And it's for that reason that we have other countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and several others thinking about the future. Let's come up with another currency that isn't the British pound that we can actually use and create and exchange with. And that's scared Trump because that will have an effect on Bitcoin and the dollar. So Trump now says any country who creates a new currency, who take up BRIC, we're going to put 100% tariff on them. I would like Brazil and Russia and China and South Africa to say, be my guest, be my guest, be my guest. Because you know what? Before anything else, it'll fall. All right, it seems like we have a limerick here. Is that a limerick? Oh, no. I thought it was a limerick from Brother Zarnik. I was getting excited. I saw Zarnik And it says, fact check, Facebook, Mike Cisak. A survey found that 40.1% of Canadian bankruptcy filers due to waiting on healthcare services being unable to work. Actual fact. 40.1% reported losing at least 2 weeks of work-related income because of illness or injury in the 2 years before their filing. Wow. You know what? Those are two completely different statements. I think Americans would love to have that Canadian problem as opposed to the real problem that we have with bankruptcies. All right. Michael says there are few horror stories about Bitcoin holders losing their passwords or otherwise losing access to their Bitcoin wallets, effectively losing millions of dollars. Exactly, because there's no physical anything. Right? Patrick Magner said the energy used to unlock increases exponentially. I read that one. That is true. Michael says, do you feel sorry for poor rich people? New York Times. 10 billions of worth of Bitcoins have been locked by people who forgot their keys. Well, it was never real money, so, Eric K says, need to strengthen the grid for Bitcoin mining too. Wow. No, we need to make Bitcoin. No, we need to let people who want to invest in Bitcoin invest in it. I think if you want to be a fool, do it. Go for it. We can't control that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael says, Mike C., in the U.S., estate taxes require a certain amount of wealth before they take effect. Basically, if you don't own enough SHIT to call it an estate, that debt tax probably doesn't apply to you. Again, people that will never owe a death tax are the ones who seem to be always trying to promote a death tax. I find it astounding. Lo encuentro como una cosa bien loco. No sé. Una cosa bien loca, I should say. No lo puedo creer. Anyway, I got another video. And this was, I was so happy for this caller to my KPFT show because he learned from what we talk about at KPFT. Check this out. Let's go to Alan. Come on in, Alan.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me.
Yeah, I had a United Dual Complete PPO, and somehow I got switched over to Advantage HMO.
Mm-hmm.
And
let me explain that to you, sir, because we covered this before, and one of the and I want everybody to hear your story. I want everybody to hear your story. The government allowed, and hear me closely, everybody that's listening. And this is where we need to fight government to say, stop carrying the water for these insurance companies, these private companies, and protect Americans. You may not have noticed it, Alan, but you got a piece of mail 90 days before they made that switch, telling you that you would be placed from Medicare into Medicare Advantage. All right, because you were signed up with a company that does both Medicare and Medicare, meaning the Medigap, as well as Medicare Advantage. And they have the right, the government gave them the opportunity to put you into their Medicare Advantage plan and give you 90 days to opt out. If you don't opt out within those 90 days, I think it's 90 days now. If you don't opt out within those 90 days, you're stuck with Medicare Advantage. What I would do is I would go to if that's not what you want, which I hope it's not, I would go to the company who gave you that Medicare Advantage PPO, let them know that you did not receive that mail at all, and to put you where you want to be. Is that understood?
That's what I did.
And what did they do?
Put me back where I was.
Excellent. You did the right thing, but I hope others that are listening today, Alan, use yours as a learning experience because it is very important, sir. Anything else?
If I don't want what I don't want, I don't want it.
Say that again.
I was saying, I didn't want the advantage, so why should I take the advantage?
Exactly.
So I called them up and told them, put me back in the PPO, dual complete, and leave me alone.
Thank you. That is what we need all our seniors, our people over 65 to do. You did the right thing, sir.
Well, I know that.
All right. Good. Well, thank you. I am so happy you've been listening, brother. But look, thank you so kindly for your call, brother Alan. And, you call back anytime you want to, okay?
Thank you. You keep doing what you're doing. It's good.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful day. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Anyway, folks, I don't have any more videos. So if anybody want to give me a call right now, 713, or rather 281, I was about to give you the KPFT number, 281-823-7747. Again, it is 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to give me a call? Anything you want to add to the program? It is your time right now before I go into my part of saying, hey guys, it's time to sign up for our newsletter. We need you to become paid members of our newsletter so we can get some stuff done. Need some help here. But I only give help if we are going to pay the folks for said help. Anyway, folks, anybody want to call me? Give me a call. 281-823-7747. Una vez más. 281-823-7747. Maywood says, good afternoon, everyone. Now that I got into the chat, device acting up. Well, you almost had a tsunami that hit you out there in well, it wasn't going to come all the way down to Long Beach. It wasn't going to come all the way to Long Beach at all. Carl Cox, look, don't come into the chat if that's all you're going to put into the chat, my brother. There is no apology that is owed you, sir. I think if there's an apology to be given, you ought to give an apology for what you did in our chat. That's the apology that's needed. All right. Should we talk about tariffs? Sure. You want to call in and talk about tariffs, Patrick? You can. This is y'all's show. Remember that? You own this show, Bo. You own this show. You're the ones who direct this show. Mike Cisak said, I was wondering why Egberto is ignoring the corrupt pardon Biden gave to his son. I agreed with this pardon. There's nothing corrupt about it. How can it be corrupt if the Constitution gave him the power to do it? I don't hear them say that for all the crazy people that Donald Trump pardoned. In this case, I have a son that the new president is going to be going after without. You bet your life I'm going to do that. My brother Ray, come on in, Ray. Ray, are you there?
Can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. I can hear. Oh, it looks like I have another. Wait, what's going on here? There's another call coming in too. Let's see if I can get that too. All right, let's see how that works. Oh God, did I not answer? Hold on a second, Ray. Let me fix something here real quick. I need to fix this stuff real quick, and I think I'm going to get it fixed like right now. Okay, Ray, I think you're on now. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, Egberto. Like I said, I hope you had a good holiday, a good turkey day, and everything it meant for you and your family.
Yes, I did.
Come off of that, I'm actually coming off a birthday yesterday. So
Happy birthday. How old
that's
are
something I
you?
wanted to tell. This will be the 38th edition, sir. Yeah.
All right. You're getting up there. You're still a baby, but I mean, I mean that in a kind way, okay? I mean that in a kind way.
I'm a millennial. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm an elder millennial at this point. I
Oh,
accept that role. When I start listening to music and I realize that some of my best favorite hits were as old as some of the ladies that I find attractive. There's that, and it's like 25 years. That's a long time ago. 25 years. At 2000, and I have to add tax to that. But I'm blessed to still be here. I'm in this fight, for social justice because I don't feel like I have another choice. Oh, and finally, I wanted to just speak on that issue with the assassination. Yeah, I guess when you come from a place of peace, you don't generally cheer for murder, but when you have made so many enemies, you don't necessarily you don't necessarily not understand what's the motive behind someone like that of that caliber getting murdered. So it's a fine line, because we all want to be decent human beings, but the Joker once said, sometimes you get what you freaking deserve. And I don't know how to say that. I don't know the man personally, but if he's messed a lot of people over, that's just karma in the form of violence coming back to him. That's all I got to say about that.
but before I close, I'd like to ask you all to please support the program. You can support the way to support the program. All the different forms of supporting the program can be found at politicsdoneright.com/support. Again, that is at politicsdoneright.com/support. But what I'm asking you to do, for those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, to please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. We need to get to over 1,000 subscribers. We're only about we're only about a tenth of what we need to be. I wanted to be at 1,000 at the end of the year. We're only at about, 250 or so. Ultimately, we need to get to 2,500 to get quite a few things done, but we're not there yet. And we hope to be there sometime, for really. Ask Egberto this week. We're going to have to postpone Ask Egberto for 1 week because we have the Houston Peace and Justice Center mixer where we're bringing other organizations in, and it's going to be occupying that time. But anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please support the program. Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. Oh, let me see if I can get that. All right, Magner, can you hear me? I don't know if you're going to hear me. Can you hear me?
Hello?
I think I'm having mic problems.
I can't hear you.
I'm having mic problems, and I don't
not sure
think
if you
I
can hear me.
get it solved today. But I'll get it solved tomorrow.
The video
Are you
pause
there?
is when you
Apparently
when I
not.
call.
We'll have to fix that tomorrow. Anyway, folks, please support the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.